I got cut off explaining the y-intercept. As I was saying, I had to turn all my x's into zeros so I can solve for y, and I couldn't solve the equation. The equation had no solution, so the y-intercept is undefined. And for the domain and the range, we have a vertical asymptote on +1, and I found that by looking at the argument, which is the expression that's in parentheses, which is x minus 1. So I solved for x, then I have +1, which is my vertical asymptote. So the domain, which expresses all the numbers of the x-intercepts in the x-axis, or all the numbers in the x-axis, it goes from 1 to +infinity because I have a vertical asymptote in my graph for this equation. And the range, I don't have a vertical asymptote, horizontal asymptote for this one, so it's all real numbers, which goes from -infinity to +infinity. For 9b, I noticed that it's the inverse of the first problem. So I did this, which means that there is a horizontal asymptote in +1 because there was a vertical asymptote on +1 for 9a. And since it is inverse, I have a horizontal asymptote now, and my y intercept is the x-intercept of the last one, which is 1.008, and the same goes for my x-intercept, but I still did the work. So for the x-intercept, I turned my x into a 0, and it has no solution, so there is no x-intercept. And for my y-intercept, I turned my x into a 0, and for the x-intercept, I turned my y into a 0. So for my x-intercept, I turned my x into a 0, and the exponent was 0 minus 3, so it is -3, and x to the power of -3, as we know, is 0.008, but I added 1 because the equation said so, so my y-intercept is 1.008. My domain is all real numbers because there is no vertical asymptote. However, there is a horizontal asymptote because, as I said before, this equation is the inverse of the last one. And for my graph, I drew both my vertical and horizontal asymptotes. As we can see, the first one doesn't goes from all real numbers until 1, and it never touches my asymptotes. Both lines never touch my asymptotes. They just come really close, and as we can see, they are inverse of each other because they are parallel, and they are almost the same, but they are inverse.